I still think about the day I threw dirt on his grave with my own hands. I was holding his photo, wearing black. My eyes were dry. I had no tears left. Everyone around me kept saying, "You're so strong. What a brave woman. He was lucky to have you." 6 months. 6 months, I learned to live with that emptiness. Every morning I woke up to his side of the bed, cold and untouched. Every evening I cooked dinner and only set out one plate. Every night I closed my eyes and heard his voice. Then, yesterday, I went to the grocery store, and he was standing right there, alive. He had a basket in his hand. He was laughing with another woman. That same laugh, same eyes, same smile, same everything. My feet stopped moving. The bag in my hand fell to the floor. No sound came out of me. And then he saw me. He paused, just for 1 second. One single second. And then, looking straight at me, he turned away. Like I was a stranger. Like we had never met. Like he had already died. On the inside. Long before his funeral. I'm going to tell you everything. From the very beginning. Because you need to know what happens to a woman who refuses to stop searching for the truth.
We got married in 1987. I was 24. He was 27. It was a small ceremony, just 47 people, a little rented hall, and my father's old vinyl record playing in the background. We met at a friend's dinner party. He handed me a glass of lemonade and said, "Why do you always look so serious?" I said, "Because I'm still looking for a reason to smile." He said, "Let me be that reason." And I believed him. For good reason, at least back then. We had 3 daughters together. Lauren, Melissa, and little Claire. He was their whole world. Morning school drop-offs, bedtime stories, Christmas morning surprises. That was his life. That was who he was. For me, he was everything. Sunday afternoons we'd drive around in our old Chevy with no destination. He'd sing along to the radio. I'd laugh, and the girls would scream in the back seat. He was an accountant, simple job, steady income. Our house was small, but it was ours. We weren't rich, but we were happy. That's the thing about happiness. It never warns you when it's about to be destroyed. He never raised his voice, never raised his hand, never spoke harshly. And that, I would later realize, was what broke me the most. Because when a man is cruel, you can see it coming. You can protect yourself. But when a man is gentle and warm and kind, how are you supposed to know he's hiding something underneath all of it? 34 years together. Every holiday, every birthday, every ordinary Tuesday night, I spent all of it believing I had won the greatest gift life had to offer. Then one night the phone rang. It was the hospital. They said, "Mrs. Calloway, your husband suffered a cardiac arrest." We did everything we could. He didn't make it. I pressed both hands against my chest because I genuinely thought my own heart would stop. Now I know that phone call was a lie too. When someone dies, a certain kind of silence fills the house. I know that silence well. But back then, before everything fell apart, there was a different silence I should have noticed. About a month before his death, I remember he came home an hour late from work. I asked where he'd been. He said, "Late meeting." Nothing unusual. But that night at dinner, he was completely quiet. And when I reached over and touched his hand, he pulled it away. Smoothly, naturally, like it was an accident. But I felt it. Even before that, 2 months earlier, he switched phones. Said he got a new model. But the new phone had a new password. We never had passwords between us. That was our rule. I asked him about it, and he laughed it off. Said the bank had recommended better security. I believed him. Then one afternoon, he went to the bank, alone. We always ran errands together. He said it was a small thing, nothing worth dragging me along for. He came back without a receipt. I asked. He said he left it in the car. Now I know there was no receipt because he was transferring money into an account I didn't know existed. Quietly, without my name on it. But there's one thing that haunts me more than anything else. 6 days before his fake death, I walked past Claire's bedroom door and saw him sitting beside her bed. She was already asleep, but he was just sitting there, head bowed, holding her little hand. For a long time, I stood in the hallway and thought, what an incredible father. Now I understand what he was really doing. He was saying goodbye. The plan was already in motion. He knew that after that night, he was never coming back. And the worst red flag of all, the one that makes me cry every single time I remember it. 1 week before he disappeared, he looked at me and said, "You know, you'd be completely fine on your own. You're one of the strongest people I've ever known." I thought it was the most romantic thing he had ever said to me.
He was preparing me.
After the funeral, when we got home, Lauren found an envelope tucked inside the drawer of his nightstand. It was labeled, "For Margaret." Only, inside was a single handwritten note. One line, "Forgive me for what I cannot say, because you never deserved to hear the truth this way." Nothing else. No explanation. No name. No reason. A month later, something made me dig deeper. A letter arrived from the bank about an account being closed. An account I had never heard of. It had held $47,000. The money had been wire transferred 3 days before his death into another account under a different name. That name was Sandra Reeves. I had never heard that name in my life. I went to the bank. They showed me the documents, his signature, his authorization, her account. Then Melissa found an old phone tucked inside the pocket of one of his old jackets we were donating. There was a hidden SIM card inside. I had someone unlock it. It was full of messages. 2 years of messages. With Sandra. He had written to her, "Just a little longer, I promise. I'm coming. For good this time." She had written back, "I'll be waiting. Don't make me wait too long." 34 years. 34 years, I gave this man everything. I stayed up through his fevers. I cared for his aging parents. I gave up my own career goals. I put his name before mine. I handed him 3 daughters and trusted him completely. And he had planned, carefully, deliberately, over the course of 2 years, to die. Not actually die. Die to me. Die to our daughters. Die to everything we had built together. He faked his death so he could start a new life with another woman. So he could walk away clean, without a divorce, without a fight, without any of the mess that came with the truth. He left me to grieve him. He left our daughters to grow up without a father. He left us to carry the weight of a loss that was never even real. That night I sat completely still for hours. I wasn't crying. I was past crying. I just kept asking myself one thing. How does a person do this to someone they once loved?
My daughters wanted to know everything.
I told them nothing for months. I sat alone every night and read those messages over and over again, like picking at a wound because the pain at least feels like something real. I couldn't think about selling the house. Those walls held 34 years. Every corner had a memory, but being inside them was starting to feel like being trapped in someone else's life. Then Christmas came. The first one without him. The girls and I sat around the table. Claire looked up at me with those big eyes and asked, "Mom, do you think Dad knows it's Christmas?" I said, "Yes, sweetheart. He knows." That line still cuts right through me. One night I sat down on the kitchen floor, not dramatically, not on purpose. I just couldn't stand anymore. And I said out loud to nobody, either I fall apart completely, or I find out the truth and I do something about it. I didn't know that night that my whole life was about to change direction. And I didn't know that a grocery store was going to be the moment that handed me everything I needed. The moment I walked out of that grocery store, I did one thing. I took his picture. My hands were shaking. My eyes were filling up, but my hands still worked. That night I sat all 3 of my daughters down and told them everything for the first time. The envelope, the bank account, the phone, Sandra, all of it. Lauren cried. Melissa slammed her hand on the table. And Claire, sweet, quiet little Claire, reached over and grabbed my hand and said, "Mom, why didn't you tell us sooner? We were right here." That one sentence pulled me up off the floor. The next morning we called a family law attorney. She told us that since he had never been legally declared dead through a court, the marriage was still legally valid, which meant that whatever new life he was building with Sandra, it had 0 legal standing. The bank account he had drained, the $47,000, it had been funded partially through our joint assets. That transfer was fraudulent. She said we had grounds for both a civil claim and a criminal fraud case. Then we contacted a local journalist who covered financial abuse and family law stories. She was very interested. And then I made the most important call of all. I called my older sister, who had spent 22 years in law enforcement before retiring. She knew exactly who to call and what to file and how to make sure nothing got buried. We had a plan. A quiet plan. A completely legal plan. The kind of plan a man never sees coming from the woman he decided to leave behind. Because he had assumed I was a broken, grieving old woman with nowhere to turn. That was his biggest mistake.
Within a week, the attorney sent a formal legal notice to his new address. Yes, we found the address. We had Sandra's name. We had the neighborhood from the grocery store photo. My sister's contacts did the rest. The notice outlined everything: fraudulent asset transfer, false death deception, financial abuse, and the pending criminal fraud filing. A copy went to the bank. A copy went to the journalist. He showed up at my door the same day the notice was served. He rang the doorbell. I opened it. He looked older than I remembered, not from age, from fear. He said, "Margaret, please. Let me explain." I said, "Come in." All three of my daughters were sitting in the living room. He walked in and stopped when he saw them. Claire spoke first. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She just looked at him and said, "Dad, you were alive, and you let Mom grieve you." That was all she said. He couldn't speak. Melissa slid a folder across the coffee table, bank records, phone records, the attorney's documents, and said, "You have two choices. We settle this here, and you return every dollar that belongs to Mom. Or we let the courts handle it." He started making excuses. Said life had gotten hard. Said he felt trapped. Said Sandra understood him in ways he couldn't explain. Said he knew I was strong enough to survive without him. I spoke once. Only once. "You made me a widow. You made your daughters grow up without a father. And you chose all of it deliberately. Now choose what comes next." He cried. Real tears. But this wasn't about his pain anymore. The criminal fraud case moved forward. The $47,000 transfer was reversed by court order. When Sandra found out there was an active criminal case and that a journalist was covering the story, she ended things immediately. The brand new life he had built disappeared overnight. The journalist published the story. Names changed, but everyone in their circle knew exactly who it was about. His professional reputation collapsed. The people who had mourned him, who had attended his funeral, who had sent flowers to our house, they now knew he had sat back and watched all of it happen. And the final legal decision? Because he was never declared legally dead, the marriage had never ended. Every arrangement he had made with Sandra had zero legal validity. The new apartment, the joint accounts, the future he had planned with her, legally, none of it existed. I kept my name. I updated every document. And for the first time in 6 months, I slept through the entire night. This house is mine now. Ours, mine and my daughter's. Last month, Claire got her acceptance letter to nursing school. Melissa is expecting her first baby, my first grandchild, this spring. Lauren just told me she's finally launching the small business she had been dreaming about for years, the dream she had put on hold when grief swallowed her whole. Life didn't stop. I didn't stop. Some mornings I still wake up and feel that old silence for just a moment. But it's different now. It's not the silence of loss. It's the silence before something new begins. And in it I hear my daughter's voices. My grandchild coming. My own voice, finally, after all these years. I lost a lot. I lost 34 years of a story I thought was true. I lost the version of my life I had built every single day. But I gained something no one can take from me. The courage to face the truth and keep standing anyway. If you are sitting somewhere right now, carrying a betrayal you haven't told anyone about, I want you to hear this. Breaking is not the same as breaking apart. And standing back up after you've been broken, that is the truest kind of strength there is. I want to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever been in a situation where someone you completely trusted turned out to be someone you never really knew? What did you do? And if this story gave you something today, please subscribe. Every week, I bring you a true story just like this one. Stories that remind you, you are not alone.